Thank you very much. It's my honor and my pleasure to introduce one of the first ladies of television, Elena Verdugo. Welcome. Well, I heard a lot of laughter.
That's good. That's good.
I saw the episode over the weekend. These episodes are fine. They're hard to find. Why is that?
They burned them. They did. They did. They took all our work of 4 years. I remember somebody called. They said, Elena, would you like to buy this? I said, God, all of it? And then I think I said something like, how much? I was not working at the time, and I said, I guess not, but I'm sure someone else will want it. And then I thought, where will I store it? And I knew that it was kinescope, which is a different substance than film. And if you ask me what it is, I don't know. I keep asking and forget. But I knew that's why they couldn't replay it like you would, I was going to say reruns, I said residuals. That was on my mind. So I didn't, and they wanted room in their library, and they burned them, got rid of them.
They also erased them to re-record, didn't they?
You can't do that on kinescope. It's really a cheap process. But they did the same thing with Merv Griffin. All his shows, those wonderful shows he had. Zap.
This show premiered in 1952. Now, as I recall, the CBS Television Center, which we all know from Beverly and Fairfax, opened in 1952. Was yours the first show?
We were the first show to come out of Television City on its opening day. My friend Irma was doing hers at the same time, but we can honestly say, now listen, before I go any further, this show would never have survived without Marvin Kaplan. Marvin's a method actor. And I'd pick up something being with a method actor, and I'm watching, he's always got his props on, and there was a scene where I wish I had a pillow. There was a scene where I was going to marry Johnny, and we're in rehearsals, and Marvin comes to rehearsal with his hat, a muffler and a thing. And by the second day of rehearsal, they go, why is he wearing his hat? And I went, Marvin, it's not a Jewish wedding. Is that method?
That's method. So 1952, Meet Millie began. It was filmed or performed in front of a live audience, wasn't it?
Yes, we did it in front of a live audience. It's historical what we did. We did, as we did it, they were seeing it in the East, which threw us right into panic.
So it was live.
I'm the only one that would walk on the set, and my ears would start ringing. But then later I was told by the cameraman, a sound man, he said, Elena, only women pick up that high frequency sound that you get on a sound stage, whatever they used. I said, I was just scared. We would rehearse and have very much almost like the present day, except that on the day that we shot, we also did a dress rehearsal in the morning, and then we went to farmer's market and ate, came back, got our makeup on, and showed up, and then I'd look over at the conductor, and we had a full orchestra back there. You know, when you think about all that, that's really kind of fun.
You
I
also
can't
had
tell you
like-
how many times I forgot my lines, and I'd be running back to the can't remember his name, Irving Miller or something. And I have to go through his script to look up my lines. I really aged a lot during that.
I wanted to ask you, shooting live like that, did you perform the script from the beginning of the script to the end in one, or in sequence?
No. Marvin got into that costume while we were acting. The rest of the cast was working. Many times I was underdressed 2 or 3 times and just have a mic behind that doorway that led to Neverland. I never knew what was back there. And I'd be doing wardrobe. Shh, shh, take that off, and then come out like it's the next morning. I mean, you had to be young and crazy to do all that. No, we'd be underdressed 2 or 3 times sometimes. What was the question?
But the script, the episode that we saw, was it shot, it was shot live, so it was shot in sequence, correct? There were no pickup shots or
Oh,
anything.
you're right. No, we just, what you saw, we were doing. Oh, poor dear.
So the underdressing, you actually, you actually answered a question I had in mind. That's why she's one of the first ladies of comedy. So you underdressed for the sequence because you did perform it like.
Well, I lied a little bit because I forgot. We did have commercials, and they did commercials. Oh,
pillow.
what an angel! Thank you. They had commercials. I don't remember who our announcers were, but they were the top people, and they'd be doing their commercial live.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd take that time to get into our next change, or sometimes we didn't have a change. But every second was used. And I very often gave a heart attack to the first assistant, because I would say, "What scene is this?"
How long did you have to learn each script? What was your rehearsal schedule and your shooting schedule like?
It wasn't that bad. We went in, had a round table reading, and I think we went to wardrobe. Then we, the next day came in trying not to have the script, but started performing. And then we did this next rehearsal in the afternoon, where we started blocking and rehearsing. And then the day of shooting, we did a dress in the morning. I wonder if they used it. No, they couldn't. They couldn't edit. You edited. One thing about having a live television, you do your own editing, whether the cameramen know it or not. Because I look at the camera and thought, he's on me and he can't go anyplace. And I just let the camera hold, then I'd find my light, you know. I'm so embarrassed.
Well, that's interesting. Because after Meet Millie, you went right on to another series, didn't you?
No.
No.
I was going to go on to another one, and then something went on. But
When was the Phil Silvers show?
I don't know. Years later.
Let me check my notes here.
I think I was out of work for a long time. You know, when you have a title role like that and you're the you know, you're Millie to the nation. I would travel to New York and they'd go crazy because it was live there and they would see it as we were doing it. And there was that television was new and there was great excitement about it. And one of the things that was very innovative about this is that we learned the music cues, at least I did, having been a dancer. You know, I could say, this is where he's going to come up with that. And I opened the door, and I knew I only had a few seconds because I'd learned how the music went. And I truly think that any experience you have as an actor, particularly when you're preparing an actor, who's calling herself an actor, is ballet or dancing. If you could do some hoofing, if you're a good dancer, I don't care if you're just a mediocre actor. All of a sudden, you learn how to enter and exit and go around sofas, and you look like you know what you're doing. And dancing, there aren't any students here, but that's one of the things that I would tell them. Instead of going to the gym all the time, getting muscles, go to a bar. Do a bar class. No. Not bad. You know, to do ballet, do a ballet.
Okay.
I said bar, and I looked over at my friend. She and I are 19 years AA sober. And I had my first drink on Millie. I didn't know what a martini was. I didn't know what anything was, but they were all doing it. It's not a good incentive, you know.
Well, maybe we can segue. You brought up dancing. Isn't that how you actually began?
Yes.
Could
Yeah.
you talk about the beginnings?
Could I talk?
Like one of the questions someone asked is, you took the name Verdugo.
You're kidding.
Isn't that interesting? And let me see, did you realize that you were the only actress who took the name Verdugo? The Verdugo family has given its name to streets, towns, hills, etc., but you are the first actor that I can think of. How did you get the name?
Was born with it. You think I'm going to choose it?
Are you related to the Verdugo family?
As far as
that we
I know,
see
I
everywhere?
am, and have been since I've. You know, this Verdugo thing has been a part of my life since the very beginning because there are not that many Verdugos. And when I started the Verdugo in show business, they adopted me. They said, you must belong to the, and there's one lady who was a Sepulveda on one side and a Verdugo on the other. She said, Elenita, you're one of us. You're my cousin, my prima. I said, well, that's fine with me. But I had known before that there had been, I was very young. I should have changed it. Who wants to go with Verdugo all their life?
I think it has a beautiful ring.
You do?
Elena Verdugo, yes. Tell us about, tell us about your family.
Yeah, well, you know, the name Verdugo actually is a executioner. What?
Oh.
Means hangman.
Hangman, right. He's done my homework again.
How did you get started? Did you really start? I read somewhere that you started at 3 years old. Is that true?
Well, they took me to the dance class, where's Chucky? She didn't show. Oh, I just thought of that. Yes, I started at 3, and then about 5, I showed that I was pretty good. In fact, I was very good for a young one. There was nothing but music in my family. There were musicians, violinists, pianists. I was surrounded with music and the arts. And by the time I was 5 or 6, they needed a Spanish little Spanish dancer for this film, which was sound, but it was done in 1929. And the picture was called Cavalier of the West. And the star was Harry Carey, the famous Harry Carey. And I had to do my little dance. And I was just dancing away. And I came on the sound stage. And there's this huge camera. I said, my, that's large. I'd never seen any other kind, so I guess that's the way they were at the time. Compared to what we have now, the lights they weren't as strong. But I think they did marvelous things then. Anyway, I'm doing my little dance with my castanets, and I'm da-da-da-da-da, whatever I'm doing, when it's over, I take my little bow. Harry Carey comes, and his lady friend is standing there, and when he swoops me up into his arms, he says, "Do you have a sweetheart?" I said, "No, but I know who yours is." And he said, "What?" "No, but I know who yours is." So I lived my first line in show business.
When did you did vaudeville also, didn't you?
The worst of it and the last of it.
What did you do? Could you
Well,
tell
they
me?
had the last of vaudeville in Los Angeles was at the Paramount Theater. Abe Wolf, I think that was the conductor. He was there 100 years. And then there was $1 Million Theater, and I don't. There may have been another, but Spanish dancing. Mm-hmm. I did a little show called Tattletales in 1940, I guess it was, and so that was used as the show for the break between the movies. But I remember once at the $1 Million, I did Spanish dancing. I don't know how I got there. But I know that the lady that was supposedly the star was Pancho Villa's daughter. If you believe that. But I worked, I worked, I was just, there was never a let up in my little young life. They had me busy all the time.
Now, was this, I know a little bit about your family background. Do you want to talk about how your mother and your aunt, didn't your aunt play piano for you? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And how did you get into films?
I auditioned, not as a little child, but I had sort of a normal education for a while. You're really shortchanged with education if you're a young person in show business. I don't care how hard they try. In 3 hours, it doesn't cut it. And where was I?
How you got started in films? At what age? Because you were dancing.
I know what I wanted to say. I went. So she said if you go to a drama school, they will use that as an English as a subject. So that was added on to my education, and that school was Ben Bartz. And I want to say that someone just came up to me and said, "I'm Ben Bartz's son. Would you stand?" And what happened there is that at Ben Bartz, every certain night of the month, they'd have an hour where they'd invite the public or various agents, whatever he did. It was very creative. And the actors, if they were dancers, would do a little dance, or if they just mastered a scene, they'd do a scene. And I did my Spanish dance. And there was an agent in the audience named Lola Moore. Anybody know her? She was the best gal. She took young people she took them out on the auditions and told them where the work is, and she was a good agent. So I think she told my mother, or she set it up, that out at 20th Century Fox, they wanted a Spanish dancer for a scene in Dark Argentine Way. So I go out there, my mother with the costumes, and my aunt with the music, and we're ushered in, and we go to to the rehearsal hall. I remember that at 20th Century Fox. Nick Castle was the choreographer, and he was the best. And I did several dances. Well, I just blew them away because I was young and I was what else did I know? That's what I did. I did classical Spanish. And I was young and I was strong and I knew what I was doing. So next thing I knew, it was a real Hollywood scene. He brought all the producers down and brought them in and did that number, and I'm standing there and looking at all these men coming in, and I did my routines, or did another dance, and he carried my luggage out to the car, my suitcases. It was an honor to, it was very sweet what he said. And that's how it started, because I did 16 bars, a Don Argentine way, and that changed my life in terms of show business. Now they wanted to put me under contract. Incidentally, my first day, this is the way there was a huge limousine, and it was for me. What am I, 14? And there was a young lady in it, and that was Betty Grable. She was a real trooper. She ended up, after seeing my work, calling the Vic Orsatti agency and saying, "You've got to see this girl." I mean, I was ripe, in our careers. We were just ripe. And I went out to the scene, and Greenwood, the great comedian, Charlotte Greenwood was in this scene, and there were huge crowd of extras, and there's all this music going on, and then it's, typical, you dance. Here I go again. I got you run out to the center, and the part that cracks me up whenever I see a still from it, whatever, I had Bobby socks marks. I look at it, my feet are white and then tan from there up. So they didn't check that out too well. And I did the scene, and it was, no strain. And you think about it, you're 15 years old. If I was that old, 50 maybe, 14. And I get out in front of hundreds of people, producers, directors, and think, what? Get out and wait for your music and get into it. And I do think that being prepared as a dancer made it easy for me to be in front of audiences of any kind, and I was relaxed. So there's one person said to me once, well, who else was in the scene? I said, well, I think Don Amici was, and whatever. And they said, oh, weren't you excited? Don Amici and Betty Grable? I said, no. When you've been around show business since you're this big, and you had people like Carlos Montoya, the great guitarist, come over to your home, and he's playing the guitar. This is on 3rd Avenue in Leimert Park. We live not too chic. And these great artists, and Argentinita and her sister Pilar Lopez would come over after a Philharmonic concert. They'd roll back the carpet, everybody would eat well, and next thing I knew, I was just sitting there and watching the best, the greatest. All these people, I was exposed to it. So how come I'm supposed to be impressed with, when I go, I never had the joy of being in awe. That would help, because it's fun. It's fun. But I was around it all my life.
That was your first movie at Fox, and Fox put you under contract for, how many movies did you do for Fox?
No, I didn't do any for them. But a week or two before my contract expired, they released Moon and Sixpence that I had done at 16, but that was on loan. Is that what they call it? Yeah. And that was done over at the Selznick Studios. So they never really used me. So by the time, I don't even think the picture had been released, but Paramount saw the picture. It's the best thing I've ever done, and I was 16. And then I went over to Paramount and finished my education there.
Moon and
God,
Sixpence. Moon and Sixpence was the filmed version of Somerset Maugham's Moon and Sixpence about Paul Gauguin.
yes,
And you played Atta.
Atta. And don't shortchange the makeup people, because that too, how I got that, was a real Hollywood story. Fox had me test for a picture as a native. You know, when your name is Elena Verdugo, you're not going to work with Jane Withers. So so I was tested for a part that Gene Tierney got. So you can see the difference between a 16-year-old and Gene Tierney at that point. And I guess he thought I looked good. I don't know. Anyway, he did my makeup. And next thing I know, Ernest Westmore, the great Ernest Westmore, he was doing all the makeup for the Moon and Sixpence, which classic makeup. George Sanders played Gauguin, and he said to Gus Noreen, he said, you know anybody who could, have you worked with? He said, you know, I made up a girl at 20th Century Fox the other day in native makeup. He said, bring her over, call her. So off I go to see the makeup man, not even the casting people. I sit down with Ernest Westmore, and he sits me down, and I'm looking at him. Well, I'm putting this together because it's hard for me to remember everything, and he makes me up. He says, perfect. He takes me down to the producer. He opens the door. He was quite a ham. Opened the door, and he says, there's your Atta. By God, I got the part.
And you were
Which
terrific
was a wonderful
in the role.
part, the best credit ever.
I want to ask you, you are an artist. Is that where your love for painting and drawing began?
I think I always had a feeling for it, even as a girl in school. I draw. No, that wasn't it, but I really started to look after that. I mean, not just the pretty little pictures. I really started looking at art. George Sanders, who played Gauguin, you know, he was so bored with life. So bored. He'd say, I go where Verdugo. And he'd go look, they'd say, George, he'd be asleep. You'd leave him alone for 10 minutes and he'd fall asleep. But and then he drew faces on the mold that they put my wig on. I used Loretta Young's wig that she used in Ramona. But I want you to know, I used every dark wig they had at Max Factors. They just say Verdugo and the name of the show. I said, well, I haven't used that one for a while. Never got a chance to just be a nice little ingenue.
Natural blonde. Well, you were a natural blonde in Millie, right?
Yeah. Well, I think I touched it up a little. Well, I thought everybody would see these rotten pictures I had done before, and I didn't want to be recognized.
I have them all. Can you take us down the road? I'm looking at a list of phenomenal credits. Blood and Sand with Tyrone Power. Rainbow Island, Dorothy Lamour. Abbott and Costello, you worked with a couple of times.
Yes.
Roland Winters, by the way, who plays your boss in Meet Millie, you worked with a number of times. He played Charlie Chan, and you did a Charlie Chan movie. Can you talk about Also, Lon Chaney, I know his name appears here a number of times. You've done a House of Frankenstein with him. How was it working with these people on different projects? Were you all contract players and assigned?
No, they were all at different studios. You see, I got caught between the movies, as we knew it, and television. So you get work where you can at that point. Some people were still under contract, but the studio system was beginning to be different than it had been before. While I had been under contract to Fox and then to Paramount, and I was under contract to Paramount because of C.B. DeMille. He wanted to put me into a picture, and then, it's a terrible story. After a year, he decided to use a girl that wasn't so virginal.
Okay.
My mother was with me.
I'm looking at other films here, and you worked at quite a few studios out here. Monogram with, was it Gene Autry?
No, Gene had his own company at Columbia. My friend Gloria Henry and I are the last two actresses. Stand up, Gloria. Oh, my best friend, Sharon Glass, where are you? You stand up. She came out just for this occasion. Do I have friends or do I have friends?
Yes, you do.
Gene Autry.
Gene Autry. He had he started his own film company. I can't remember the name of it. Huh? What did he say?
I didn't hear that.
Oh.
Flying A.
Uh-huh. And it was, and I did a thing called The Big Sombrero. And do you know, I'm not a bit ashamed of it. I am not. I got a little story to tell about it. Gene Autry was about the biggest thing there was at the time. I mean, we don't know it because we're not big Western fans. But we go on, Gloria and I go on festivals where it's Western festivals. And they just died because we worked with Gene Autry. These people are true fans. So I'm doing this picture. They dyed my hair, thank you. And it's just beautiful. I had a beautiful horse, and I was the lady señorita, and like my friend said, those are cute shoes, and I would say, these are my wedgies. And let me tell you, the draw of Gene Autry, the executives, this is big time show business. He was, there's a day out on location, and I was up in the balcony, and I'm saying, "Adios, Señor Cowboy." And Gene is on his horse, and he turns around and he says, "Adios, señorita," and he rides off, and his horse farts all the way out. Boy, is that champion? And the guests are there, and the diplomat. And he just smiled. He's got his hat.
How many movies did you do with Gene Autry?
2. And the other one I forgot altogether. I don't know.
Gene Autry and the Mounties.
Yeah, let's just.
We'll forget about that?
Huh?
Okay. I would like you to talk about, There's Jose Ferrer here, Cyrano
Yeah.
de Bergerac.
Right.
How was it working with him on that classic?
I was off the ground. I was off the ground. The difference between what I had been doing and the people I was working, all of a sudden you work with this kind of magic and you're 2 feet off the ground. You just, between the director and the lighting thing and the camera on me for the scene. And here's Jose Ferrer with this thing. He was so wonderful. And he kissed my hand in the scene, I believe. I was the orange girl. And the director gave me a piece of advice. You don't get a lot. He said, remember, you're used to men giving you a pat on the fanny, not kissing your hand. And I think that was very good direction. So working with Jose Ferrer for just those few minutes, you feel it. You feel it when you're working with greatness. George Sanders was pretty good too, but that Jose Ferrer, I mean, he's such magnetism. Horny old man.
Well, how could he resist you? There's another, The Lost Tribe with Johnny Weissmuller, who we all know as Tarzan.
Another
talk
winner, yeah.
Is it a film you'd rather not talk about?
The reason I have to talk about it, my husband will never forgive me. When I was a little girl, my mother was Lupe Velez's secretary, traveling companion, and I was at the house a great deal. And she was married to Johnny Weissmuller. And I was just little Elena, or little Helen, I think they called me, little Helen. And I knew Johnny Weissmuller. And by God, I fell in the pool and all kinds of things with a broken arm. But here I am, the little girl, now and again. I don't know exactly how old I was, but not even a teenager, just a girl. I come on the set of this show with Johnny Weissmuller as his leading lady. And he said, "Good morning, Elena." And I said, "Good morning, Mr. Weissmuller." I mean, that's the difference. I mean, generation or so had gone by, decade. And he was charming. He was very sweet. And I have too bad I'm so stupid sometimes. But I was in a pool where they photograph you from underneath. I don't know if they still have it out at Columbia Ranch. And I'm okay as long as you don't stop me in the middle. You know, if I have to tread water, I'm in big trouble. So he's in the pool with me, and I'm going out across, and then they said, "Okay, stop, you see the alligator." And I stop, and anyway, I go back to the thing, and I said, "Gee, this is kind of hard." I said, I'm kind of scared. And he says, "With me in the pool?" Can you imagine saying that to the world champion? World champion swimmer, I'm scared. Anyway, I think he forgave me.
What was your character's name in that movie? Do you remember?
Anything that ended in an A.
You played Ata, Nona, Ilanka. A lot of exotic names, right? Ilanka makes me think about Frankenstein. Would you like to talk about that movie?
Well, I'll tell you what I have to say about it. It has a life of its own. It doesn't make any difference where I go. They want to talk to me about House of Frankenstein because it's a cult picture. And people who like that sort of thing are absolutely absorbed. They can give me the whole speech and poem that is used in the film that was written. It's a lovely poem. can't remember it, but it's a very lovely poem. And people who are fans of that sort of thing are avid, and I'm grateful that I was in it, that I could, you know, I got to do everything. I danced, I flirted, I had a hunchback for a boyfriend. Who, it is incidental, but it was J. Carroll Nash, and he was in the first scene I did in Down Argentine Way. He was in the scene. I thought, here we are all these years later, and I'm looking at you with that thing on you.
Had you worked with Boris Karloff before?
No, there's another thing of someone with great stature. When he was a very quiet man, and you know, what does he want to talk to a 17, 18-year-old girl about? There's nothing. He walked onto the set, and you felt that this man knew what he was doing, and I had a great deal of respect for him without even knowing much about him at the time. I didn't know his background in England. I didn't know all that. But I'll tell you who I had fun with was Lon Chaney. Lon Chaney liked his beer, and it was at was it at Universal?
I think it was.
I think so too. And he said, "You want a cold Coke or something?" I said, "I'd love it." He picks me up and puts me on the back of the wagon, and we're out there just chatting and having the best time. He's the only one that talked to me. You know, I was just an ingenue. He was very cute, very sweet.
You did a number of films with him, didn't you? Do you remember some of the others? Maybe I do.
Well, that one I remember the most because I shot him. This was, I killed the Wolfman. Now, how many of you can say that? You see my little fingers there? I'm just hammering away and making this bullet. I just made that bullet. And then he comes through the door and, ah! That's what we did in horror pictures. Then he ran out, and then you hear a pew, a bang, and I kill. And then we'd pull each other, we'd drag ourselves to each other. We did, and it worked. You know, the smoke coming up from the ground. You don't think anything but just what you're doing. And it was nice. It was fun.
I actually have a lobby card from that movie on my wall.
Really? Well, it's a very famous picture. It has a life of its own.
You also did, I'm sorry.
No, I am.
You also did The Thief of Damascus with Lon Chaney, I see, and Paul Henry.
I don't remember that hardly at all. That one, I don't know how it snuck in. That was with Paul Henry, right?
Right.
There's nothing memorable about it. Nothing.
Okay.
Except that he and I had a little kiss with Paul Henry, and he did spit. I remember that.
Shall we segue into your television career?
You never had any funny experiences with me? This is my granddaughter, Jessie Marion. Who is opening up she's the director. Do you hear this? Big time director of this stage play that's going to open in Minneapolis at the. Yeah.
It's not the government.
Next month, and she's a bona fide director. She goes right up to him. So we have another female director. She's hot stuff. I'm very proud of you, dear.
Television came in about when Do you recall which film or where you were working, which studio? You worked at, geez, did you work at RKO? Because I think you worked everywhere else.
No, I don't think so. But, you know, RKO and Paramount, the back lot sort of, somehow they meshed. No, but I think I was at Columbia, no, Paramount at the time.
Well, how did
Do
Millie?
you remember Nicodale's? Anybody?
Sure.
You know what? The son is my dentist now. I mean, this lovely man is doing this thing on me, and he says, "What do you do?" I said, "I don't do anything anymore." And I told him, I said, that's how I made my living, performing. He said, "Do you know Nicodale's?" I said, "Do I know Nicodale's?" and he's a wonderful, nice guy. And isn't that funny that his son, who they probably named it after, right? Nicodale, I don't know. He's my dentist. Yeah.
So how did Meet Millie come about? Television was forming
Yes.
while you were still doing films. Can you tell us what that was like, what was going on? How did Meet Millie happen for you? Did you audition? How did you audition? How was everything happening at that point in your career?
Well, parts were getting kind of dumb because they were just making cheap pictures a lot because television was really moving, or you happened to be you might have been under contract, but I wasn't at that point. It was slowing up. It was a transition period. And you started going, I did some television. I think something with Brian Donlevy, and that, you pick up jobs here and there because you want to see what it's like. The only difference is, that's the only time I worked with a real method actor on whatever that series was. Akim Tabarov. We were going to do a scene together, and he walked past me and smacked me. He said, "You should be preparing. You're not getting mad." I thought, holy Christ, what is this guy? What? No, about Millie. I went on an interview. The agent actually got me on an interview, and I went over to see Harry Ackerman, who was the head of CBS, and I told him, "Oh, I don't think I could do this, Mr. Ackerman. I've never even been to New York. I don't think I'm right. But I have a girlfriend who I know could really play this part." And I recommended my girlfriend, Joan Shawley, who was Joan Fulton then. And he looked at me and I said, "She's really good." And so I left and gave him her number, and and my husband at the time said, what are you doing? What are you doing? So anyway, then I called the agent again, and I said, well, maybe I should look into this. So I go back, and I see him again, and I meet Frank Galen, who's the producer, writer, creator, I guess. Was he a creator? And I said, I don't have any experience in this. I don't know anything about. He said, trust me, I'll teach you. Just bring that smile with you. Never been told that. But I took, I went and I listened, and I learning and watching the greats like Marvin. And by the time I could do a little comedy, it was way deep. It takes forever to learn how to do comedy, the way these people do it. It just took forever. But when I finally got it, I wasn't really an ingenue anymore. And I didn't want to do comedy as a character person. I wasn't ready for that. Why?
Why? Meet Millie was a radio show, wasn't it?
Yes. And can you believe, it was Audrey Totter was the original Millie. Audrey Totter, that wonderful actress. she was still doing the radio show, but they figured if I'm doing it on camera, we got wonderful reviews of what right after we did Millie on. And you know where we did it? CBS wasn't even ready. We did it over at the Earl Carroll's Theater, or NTG, and we did it on this revolving stage. And they would push the stage a little bit. And dummy over here, I'm standing there and waiting for my cue, and I looked at the guy and I said, "You're going the wrong way." And he believed me. Why would he believe me?
I have to tell you something. When I look at your smile, you can tell me anything, and I'll believe you. You have a gorgeous smile. So Meet Millie ran from 1952 until 1956. That was your first television series regular role.
Yeah.
From there, I have a list here, and I don't know in what order they are. You did Verdugo, The Phil Silver Show, Many Happy Returns, Mona McCluskey.
Yes, I liked that one. I was with Juliet Prowse, but it didn't last. She's wonderful. She was wonderful.
Was
Yeah.
that also a comedy?
And I really got to play a comedienne, and I did it right for the first time. And I had learned. I worked with a wonderful actor, Schwartz, or I'm sorry, but it was comedy. It was written. Millie was just light and frothy and charming, and sort of held together all the different characters. But when I got to do a character comic, it was in Mona McCluskey.
Is it on film, or was it filmed taped on kinescope?
No, nothing. I never did anything live except Millie and things like the Red Skelton Show. Oh, well, what else was there? There was some live shows. Oh, like Playhouse, something, Alcoa Playhouse or something they did in the matinee theater. Yeah. God, you die from that. An hour? An hour? You commit yourself to an hour play live? It's crazy.
Memorize all those lines and do it live. The last series regular role that I have listed here is Marcus Welby, MD.
Well, that's it, folks. Good night.
You mentioned earlier that there were dry periods for you. What did you do in between?
Well, I had beautiful son to raise, and I liked that. I had a lot of fun. I could have my youth that I never had. When you start early in a career, you're not treated the same, and even in the structure of the family, friends, dancing with school people, or whoever you don't get a crack at being normal, really normal. So when I had that free time, I had all of Richard's boyfriends up to the house all the time. There were just the two of us, and I'd shop for 60 because I never knew how many young men were going to be dropping in, and I used up every minute of that to take care of him. And then my mother was dying, and I had to take care of these two people. And I'm happy that I could. And it's a good thing I went to work when I did, because I was running out of money.
Talk about Marcus Welby, if you will. How did that show come about to you? One of the questions I have to say, in fact, there are a couple of here, did you have to audition for every role, or did some roles come to you?
Yeah, I didn't do a lot of auditioning. It wasn't done so much when I was young. It really wasn't. Then later, I don't know what happened, but when I went in for Marcus Welby, and they wanted a Hispanic girl, I said, who else could play it? I mean, who else have they got? So I put on a white dress with a little collar on it. I knew I had it before anything. I just knew the timing was there. Who are they going to get? Rita Moreno ain't going to do it, you know? So I just knew I had it. And I went in, I'm kind of myself a little, you know, I'm not very laid back. And they said, that's just the personality we want. We want her to have that. I thought, that's what you're going to get. That's what you're going to get.
You were nominated for an Emmy 2 years in a row for your performance.
Yeah. I want you to know we have 2 Emmy Award winners right here, Mr. Joe Spano. Sharon Gless, big time Emmy winner. And I got to tell you how wonderful these people are. When you have good friends, you're the most blessed person in the world. After Welby and that was all over, and my husband said, come on, we're going to move to Mexico. Oh, well, I'd been playing all those Mexican parts all the time. Do you know when I'm in Mexico, they speak to me in English? And when I'm in Spain, they speak to me in Spanish? So there's something Hispanic about me, but it isn't Mexico. It isn't Mexican. I guess I don't have quite that look. But I did for Welby. Yeah, okay.
Consuelo Lopez was your character's name.
Consuelo Lopez, yes.
The rapport between the three of you, Robert Young and James Brolin and you, it's, for me, outstanding. I mean, Marcus Welby is one of the outstanding series.
I got to tell you how much he was into the part. I'm standing behind the counter where I'm doing my little thing, and it was one of those days that I said, I don't feel well today, and it's too bad. He comes around the thing, and he takes my pulse. Robert, you're not a doctor. True.
Elena, there's a question here. Is the industry the same now as it was 40 years ago, as in regard to casting? You did have touched on that. You said that now everybody's got to audition for things. When you were working at the studios, let's say Fox, and from there you said you went to Paramount, did they give you classes? Did they sort of look at you and say, you'd be perfect for this role, i.e. The Lost Tribe, The Lost Volcano, Charlie Chan? Would they give you some training? I know you came there as a dancer. What was it like for?
Well, they did have a man called Tom Moore, and there was before my time, there were the Moore brothers. And Tom Moore, charming man, he prepared me for several tests they did of me, and they absolutely picked the worst material. I wasn't very good, and yet I was good in Moon and Sixpence. You know, I understood everything. But when they tried to have me do this make-believe acting, you know, with the fan and the, oh, God. I found that the system could break you if you were asked to do something that's not right for you. Even, you know, because they test you, I suppose. What did I do? I'd go in and he didn't have classes. They didn't have dance classes, but MGM had all that. MGM supported their young players by really teaching them. Fox didn't have that. But I might add, let me tell you who was in the schoolroom. Roddy McDowell, Linda Darnell, Ann Baxter, Harold Nicholas, We'd dance all the time whenever it was recess or whatever. We had a good time. Stanley Clements, little Bobby Blake would come in from time to time. And Linda Darnell and Ann Baxter were my schoolmates. I'd tell one little anecdote that Stanley was a D's, Dem, and Do's guy. I mean, he was tough. And he was whatever tough part there is of New York, he was from it. And he was a good actor. And he kind of give Roddy a clip when nobody was looking. He was terrible to him. And we'd go out and we'd have to have, it's compulsory that you had a recess. So we'd all be outside playing ball or doing something. And here all these great musicians, Alfred Newman and all these top people, would come out and look and say, are they at that again? We interrupted everybody that was in the writers' building. But I have to tell you this one little thing that happened in the schoolroom. Miss Clapp, who had been Shirley Temple's teacher all through her career. She's a lovely, lovely woman. And she was very good with all of us because Linda was a glamour girl and Anne was very theater. And, I was just dumb. Just a dancer. I was a dancer, I was a dancer who got all of a sudden was put under contract. But I'm the one that ended up in that good and sixth. So anyway, we had sort of, we didn't want to, I don't know if they were school things or not. Anyway, we have a day where we had to write and do our own essays, and then we'd have to get up and read them. And we were to talk about our private life, where we came from in this particular thing. So Roddy gets up and he does whatever it is he had written, and it was very well done, and he sits down. She says, Stanley. And Stanley gets up and he says, I was born on Tidy Tide Street. And he makes fun of Roddy. It was just terrible in front of all of us. We felt so terrible for him. And the teacher stopped it and she said, now wait a minute here. She said, Stanley, you're all here for your individual accents and individuality. You can't imitate Roddy. And Roddy, she goes to Roddy and she says, and Roddy, you mustn't imitate Stanley. Heaven forbid.
You co-starred in a film with Roddy McDowell later, didn't you?
Oh, yes.
The Tuna Clipper?
It's a very bad film. It sent him to Broadway. He said, if this is what it's going to be like from now on, he went off to Broadway on his own. He started like a young, struggling actor. He took classes. He did all kinds of stuff, and we know what happened. He was excellent, but that was kind of an insult. That film, it just didn't come together. And I think I was pregnant on that film, and I couldn't eat garlic. We were down at the San Pedro with all the ships and all the stuff, and we went up to the big commissary, and everything they served had garlic in it. I swear. Yeah, that was it.
Were all of your films shot in the studios, on the lots? I'm interested. Over the weekend, I did have the opportunity to watch The Lost Volcano. Do you remember that movie? With Bamba, Johnny Sheffield playing actually a little Tarzan. And you played Nona.
And he says he's my friend.
But I'm wondering, was that film shot entirely in a studio? Because there's a volcano erupting.
Yeah, there was a lot going on, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Well, I know that Archer, She played Make Room for Daddy, Anne's mother. Marjorie Lord. Marjorie Lord was in it.
Right.
She wasn't very thrilled either. And two excellent character actors. I mean, we had a good cast.
I enjoyed the movie.
Oh, that's the picture. That's the picture that one day, I'm in someone's house, and it happens to be on the tube. Maybe I'm skipping a little bit, but I got to tell you, this picture was so cheap. I mean, I walked on the side of the hill, and I put my weight on or touched the rock for balance, and it moved. When I was in this person's house, I looked at it, and there's a rock. You know what? They printed it. Yes. I've forgotten about that. That's a great anecdote.
That's very funny. Yeah, there's there's a little ledge. There's a little ledge along the side of a volcano that every character goes back and forth to civilization on. And did you wear sandals in that? I couldn't tell if you did or didn't.
Yeah, I know I didn't wear shoes in Moon and Sixpence.
Although you did wear the same outfit, it looked, even the flowers in the hair. It said in Africa, but it looked like they dressed you for Tahiti, which was interesting. But Elena, I have to say, you know how to work a camera. Your close-ups, your shifts in thought are so clear because, do you remember working with that little boy? Tommy Evo. I have never heard of him. But he played the little boy who gets kidnapped and you go to save him. And
Oh, there was a little cute kid.
Mm-hmm.
What about him?
He did not work the camera very well. He was overacting. Anyway, it looked to me like you know exactly where the camera is. You talked earlier this evening about your light. Is this something that you just learned by working?
And when you start as young as I did, you know, these big old guys will come up to you and he says, "See, honey, this is your key light. You see over here." He said, "Don't move." So okay. Little by little, the crew, they come over and they tell you what to do. Don't get out of here. Don't let him cover you. Okay. They're wonderful. They were wonderful. They take care of all the young people, and they teach us. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to get it. The director's got too much to do. But those big crew guys were wonderful. They'd always be teaching you, and then you'd look and you'd see. And I loved it. I loved to play the camera. I just thought that was great
That's
fun.
what I see.
I loved it. There was something magic about it because you knew this is what all the people were going to be seeing, and you could, for a little while, the world of that character is right there between that machine and you. That it isn't you move to the left, you move. I mean, you're taking it with you. You use it. You don't milk it, but you use it. Mm-hmm. You can do a lot with a camera, and it helps you. And I used to hear women actors. In those days, they talked about, I forgot what actress it was, and she'd get in a light. She said, "Okay, not hot enough." They knew what the light should be here so that the shadow would be on the neck. And you pick up and you listen, and that's it. And that's fun.
So you were very comfortable in front of the camera. Mm-hmm. You had a relationship with the camera. Mm-hmm. It shows.
Really?
Yes. In my opinion, it does. There's a question here. Would you consider or like to work again? I'll co-star. Dick Post.
Who?
I'm right here. Go on the road.
Would you consider working again, Elena?
Do I know you? No. I doubt it. Yeah, I can't see any. You know, working again is like that story they say to the hooker. They said, gee, how did it go exactly? She said, they asked her, they said, you quit, would you ever do it again? She said, no, I don't mind it that much, but it's the stairs. And that's what I think of, getting up early. Is that a great story? I got to learn to tell it better. But yeah, it's just what it takes, the mechanics that it takes. I don't know if I have the energy. I don't think so.
Okay, question
That's a
here.
nice question. For someone who's 102.
You exaggerate. What differences do you see in acting styles compared to 50 or 60 years ago, and why the transition? It's probably something to do with television. Who wrote? Natalie wrote the question.
Well, when I first started, you could always tell who was a stage actor, you know, the hat or the thing. They would always play stage front. Where if you started to learn how to use your camera, when you performed, you could do that and get a nice side shot that would still get the expression you want. But the acting, the stage actor brought a great deal with him, but it was playing to the back of the house. And they had to turn that, they had to bring that way down. And then they brought it down so far, as you'll recall, back in the early 50s, everybody whispered. You couldn't hear a thing. And now I don't know what they're doing. I love these young actors, and they're adorable, but I can't hear. I want to hear. I want to hear. I think that the young people are adorable. I think the people of the 50s were very, very capable, because we were asked to like, one, do live television, two, to step in and do a show that you only get 5 days to put together and shoot. I mean, you've just got to be trained. You just have to know what you're doing, and you really have to focus. I haven't been around young actors, so the contemporary. I don't know how they behave on a set. I don't know what they do. I like what I see, and then there's a lot I wish I could hear. This thing of mumbling is not easy for all of us. I'd like to hear, when I hear someone perform and he's actually projecting, just a little, but just enough so that I could hear a T or an H or an S. I would be so grateful. You can with the British, certain things. I think that there's room, they call it old-fashioned acting. The way that would surprise me when someone said, well, you know, the old-fashioned actors compared to the new actors. Well, what the hell is she talking about? Old-fashioned actors.
I have a question here from Margaret. Who do you admire as an actor or actress working today?
Gee, I forget. There are a couple of them really terrific. Honey, who do I like? I don't go to a lot of movies.
No, television.
I'll think of it. Hang in there.
Here's a question.
Oh, I like that Charlie Sheen. I think his timing is excellent. I like the way he throws away lines. And the one who really changed, bless her heart, is Roseanne Barr. Roseanne. I'll tell you what I liked, what she did. When we were doing things like this, Millie, you'd say your line and da-da-da-da, stop, while they fed the joke. They said, stand on your ear, but don't move while they're saying the joke. Then you can move on the laugh. Well, Roseanne Barr moved on the laugh, she moved on the joke, she walked and said the joke, she broke all the rules, and that's what I had wanted to do at the very beginning, because I felt it was too stilted, all we were doing were radio shows on film. I thought she was very innovative. I loved what she did. Her thing, I think, look at her, she's throwing it away. She's throwing that line away, and it was coming across. Yeah, I like that type of work I like. Por favor.
Por favor, next question. Gloria Henry wants to know, and so do I, how old were you when you recorded Tico Tico with Xavier Cugat? Xavier Cugat and his orchestra.
Well, I guess I was 18, maybe. I'd never sung. And they said, would you like to sing with Cugat? And I thought, I don't know. And I might tell it was a terrible experience. I hated it. Well, I was a young, attractive girl. I didn't want to be up there on the bandstand doing that thing. I wanted to be out in Ciro's and out with all these good-looking guys, and I wanted to be having fun. Who wanted to work? I didn't like that part. But I'll tell you what happened on a Sunday, I believe it was. They were going to do Oh Bahia, that one, and they were waiting for Bing Crosby, who came in late and very, very. And he sang that song one take, brilliantly. That's the difference between a great talent and a drunk. You know? So then it was time for me to get up and do my thing. So I looked, and here's this huge orchestra. I had thousands of first experiences, never having prepared. Like I hadn't prepared for live television. I hadn't prepared for this thing. I wasn't prepared for ever so many things. You're young, you're dumb, you just get up and do it, you know? So I got up the little stairs, and I sang, and he goes, da 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 ba 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 ba, oh tico tico ti. Well, off I go, doing the whole thing. They said, okay, and they put a screen behind me because my voice, I suppose, was smaller, and there was too much. Big brass, I mean, this is a big orchestra. This is big time. And we do it again. And I hit that note right on the nose, the final note in the song. I could only tell you one of the thrills of my life is when it was over, the musicians clapped. Or they turned the violin over and they hit their bow against the back. But that was thrilled. Yeah, that was an experience. But I still am a lousy singer.
Was that the only, no, that's not the only time you sing, because I recall that you did live stage.
Yes, with Marvin. Marvin got so tired of watching me not work. In fact, he started my second active career. He says, come on, we're going to go to the Circle Theater. And I said, I don't want to do a play. And he says, come on. So we went, and I said, I won't go unless you buy me that purse. Something like that. And he did. An inside I went, and I auditioned, and they gave me the role. And we had a very good little show called Roman Candle. And it was quite a hit. And then right from there, my career started picking up again. What year was that? Well, I was very lucky that Marvin felt that way. Then, did you get me started with doing music? Oklahoma. So he was singing and performing in Sacramento. That's called a music circus. Mm-hmm. And everybody either on their way up or their way down or just busy. There was a part called in Oklahoma, Aduani. So he arranged for an interview.
Another pocketbook.
And I went, and I listened to her tape. No, it was South Pacific.
Aduani was 58.
Well, anyway, can you imagine me playing Nellie Forbush? That's another thing I'd never done before. Sing and dance and the theater and in the round. I mean, I really had guts, but I guess that's what it needs. That's what you need. You just blindly go through it. You just go.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
I would like to know, how long have you been a member of SAG?
Well, I would have had to do it in down Argentine way, wouldn't I? And that was, I don't know, 40, 39, 40, 40.
But how old were you?
Well, I was born in 25. You count. I was a very early member, wasn't I?
Yes, you had told me that you were one of the first, but I
I
knew you
don't think
weren't.
so. No, those people really know what happened, and I just was a member. I know one thing that I would like to say about our Screen Actors Guild clinic. I've run into a little period where, all the parts aren't working. So I've been going to the clinic, health clinic, and they are absolutely wonderful. They're marvelous. We must support our people. We must support this. And I want to tell you how those of us, without even knowing, supported it. Because one day they told us these benefits, and anything you made up to 1956 will be transferred to the Health and Welfare Foundation. So that meant a lot of money in my case, because Meet Millie and I did the radio show and the series from 52 to 56, and then all those other things, which you didn't pay hardly anything, but you did them. So at the time, I don't mind it so much, but there are a few actors that didn't like it. I can only say that the young people who are supporting all of that, all of the health and welfare now, I appreciate and I applaud and I thank you, because it has been a godsend. As you know what medicine is and how expensive it is. It has helped me, and my husband had to have open heart surgery, and they were there for us. So I just want to thank all you young people.
Bonnie Lambert wants to know what role most challenged you.
All of them. What role?
Mm-hmm.
Most of that stuff's easy. You put on the sarong, you put on... I tell you, that thing with Mona McCluskey, I liked that a lot, and it was it was decades older than I had played. I had one of the little leading lady. I was, the next door comic, like, Lucy, that lady. Mm-hmm. There were some things in there that were challenging, and I took it. I took the opportunity, and I found myself doing things I would never have done as a leading lady. I think that one sort of I turned the corner somewhere on that. And I think Richard Wharf was a director, and he said, geez, if you keep this up, you're going to really, really make it. And he was very flattering. He said, "You're doing great." And that was the first time I had taken off the leading lady attitude and just went for it. So I think that was it.
Okay. For myself, I'd like to know Phil Silvers. Any interesting stories?
Well, they're not pleasant. You can't work with comics. You know most comics are mean. They're angry. They're fighting. They have a lot of, they have a lot going on. And I had always wanted to work with Phil Silvers, but the part was just his sister and her son, and it was a blah blah part. There's nothing really. And he says, "You're not giving me anything." I thought, what can I do? I'm playing your sister. It's not a comedy thing. He was, anyway, it was a terrible experience for him. They have the Hollywood Reporter or something, and there it was. Phil Silvers canceled. Elena Verdugo signed by, I don't know, to play Many Happy Returns. Well, he saw that, and I just, ooh, Jesus. This is not going to be nice. Next thing he said, "Well, evidently you knew about it." And I really didn't. I don't know how it happened. Next thing I know, he's on the phone, and I wouldn't have wanted to be the person on the other line for anything. He really let him have it. And I don't blame him. Why should he read it in the trades on the set? And the other people already getting other jobs and whatever we did. He was a wonderful, wonderful actor. And he was, his timing was perfect. But I thought it would be fun to work with Phil Silvers. It was difficult.
Oh. From there, you went to Many Happy Returns at MGM?
Mm-hmm. For Park Levy. You remember Park Levy. It's another not so nice guy. People in comedy aren't always the nicest. And I don't know why that is. But they're just tough. I mean, there's only one way to do it, and that's to do it right. And do it my way. There's no fooling around. You don't play with the words, you don't do he didn't like me, really. And I certainly I wasn't his fan. It didn't work. And I must say I misbehaved. It was one of the few times I misbehaved. I was terrible.
Well, do we have time for a couple questions from the audience?
There you go.
You mentioned classic Spanish dancing, I think, in the beginning of your career. Who taught you classic Spanish dancing?
At the time, there was the lady that taught me was Trini, T-R-I-N-I, Goni, G-O-N-I. She was a Spanish Basque, and her husband was a wonderful guitarist. and she had a very good repertoire. And my aunt played the piano for her, that paid for my lessons. And I learned from her.
That was here in Hollywood?
Yes, it's down on, not Hollywood, Los Angeles, sort of, near the Philharmonic Hotel, or Philharmonic Theater, and the Biltmore Hotel.
Did you ever go to Spain and do any classic flamenco?
No, I never did flamenco is not, I'm not a flamenco dancer. I used to get embarrassed when they did all that stuff, and I thought, God, don't do all that, But I loved the classical that had the ballet in it. Rhapsodia Valenciana, where you do, and then you'd fly across the stage, and it was a joy. and took a lot of training. And I liked that much more than, I do the heel work and I do all of that, but I wasn't good at flamenco, and nor was she. She didn't have anything to teach. She was not really, though I had, as a young girl, all these concert artists would come to Los Angeles and they would all rehearse at this studio, at her dance studio. And I'd always take lessons from them. In fact, they wanted me, Argentinita wanted me to travel with their company on the year that I signed with Fox. So I had a choice. Was I going to go on the road as a Spanish dancer or with this company, or was I going to stay home and take a movie contract? It was quite a decision. I loved Spanish dancing, but there was a lot about it that I probably would have done more of the classical stuff. I'm not a, when it comes to flamenco and sevillanas and things that I excelled in certain styles, but you can't be a great flamenco dancer without just having it in you. It isn't the dance, it's the person coming through. And I was just too young. Might have done better if I were older.
Yes, hi. I just wondered, were you ever up for Anna and the King of Siam? Because I had a teacher once, Alex Corey in New York City, who spoke about Yul Brynner and everything that he did. And I wondered if you were around at the time, because it seems such a perfect role for you.
I didn't hear.
Were you ever up for the role? Do you remember the character name? Yeah, Anna in King of Siam, The King and I, with Yul Brynner.
No.
That's what I was thinking. Tuptim is the one of the roles that you always played, but it was played by Rita Moreno in the film. Were you up for that role?
No. I had no outlet, agent or agency that I worked with at the time that would have done that. I was strictly a little Hollywood actress. I worked here in town. I wasn't theater, and I wasn't New York. I was just a kid who I had a girlfriend named Joan Shawley, this big, tall, wonderful gal. She did all of anyway, she was, in Sweet Sue, she was the band leader. What's the name of that? Huh? Something Like It Hot. Well, she did all of his pictures, whoever the creator director was. Billy. There you go. He loved her. And she did more stuff for him. And we'd love that. She would be doing that, and I'd be doing Bomba or some dumb thing. But she was great, and it was so cute. I mean, here we were, two young Hollywood actresses, and I'd have my kid in the car, and I'd go in and go do my interview, and then she'd put her kid there, and she'd go off, and she'd go do her interview. It was very good times. She was really a great actress.
I'd like to interject a question. Was it difficult for you juggling your personal life with your acting? You just mentioned you're having your kid in the car while you're off to an interview.
I think, yeah, somebody suffers. Somebody's suffering. I always had very good help, very good. I only had two ladies from the time he was, from 5 or 6 until late junior high school and high school. He was well taken care of, but it's just not the same. You've got to, when you're at the studio or you're on a set and you're working live television, it is so demanding. Believe me, when you come home, you can't just leave it there, because if you make a mistake, you make a mistake all over the world, or our United States. the kid suffers, or somebody suffers, or the husband. It's very difficult to be the perfect wife when you're working, for me. I don't know about other people. I think if both people are actors, strangely enough, I think that'd be better than someone who is a non-professional. So that's one of the reasons. Yes?
Could you speak a little bit to ballet? You mentioned that you'd studied, and I was wondering with whom you studied out here.
I can't hear.
Could you speak to ballet and who you studied with? You mentioned earlier ballet.
Ballet. Well, actually, they weren't predominant, but there was one fellow called Ernest Belcher, and he was what's her name? Marge Shepton's father. Did some studying with him. Then there was a local gal who was Marcia Moon or something. She was very good, but I didn't do advanced ballet. By the time I was 15, I was under contract to Fox. You know, who's going to go off to ballet class when they? Everything got chopped in half with me. The training came from 3, 4, 5, all the way to the teenage. There were good people. There were some very good people. And these concert artists that would come in, they were kind enough, and I'd pick up a couple of dances, and I'd learn the dance routines from them. Then I'd teach them to my teacher, so she could teach them to other people. So it worked.
We have time for one more question.
Yes, thank you for letting me question. I'm so glad to be able to see you in person because in my childhood when Meet Millie came on, I became one of the biggest fans, and I loved Marvin so much. It was such a great show. And because I'm Hispanic, I'm Mexican, I was so proud that there was a Verdugo, cast as the lead in this. And I had not any really realized all the other work that you had done with the stereotyped work that you did, which was fun and great, but I didn't know it was there. The first time I knew you existed was when Meet Millie came on. So I was wondering, how did that magic happen that you were doing all of this, typically stereotyped type of thing, and then all of a sudden you got to be Millie?
Yes. I was lucky, wasn't I?
Yes.
Having a Hispanic name, I mean, I just don't like to complain, but you're a stereotype. And it took forever for me to get a part that wasn't, somebody harem or sarong or something. It took forever, and I was a typical apple cheek, soft brown haired teen girl, and I was so sick of that stuff that I can't say that I had a thrilling career. Because there's nothing thrilling about the kind of stuff that I was doing. But with a Spanish name, you just are not hired for anything else until Millie. And he says, Verdugo, what's a Verdugo? I said, don't want to know. Don't want to know. Don't want to know. And I promised I'd never do another Latin part.
But then Consuelo came along later.
And then Consuelo, yeah.
Elena, we went to see Vivien Leigh in Duel of Angels, and you picked up right away that there was something wrong with that lady. You want to tell us how you knew that?
You tell it.
Elena is a totally instinctive actress. I don't think she ever studied with anybody. But it doesn't matter. Her instincts are absolutely on target. And we watched Vivien Leigh in this play, and Elena said, there's something wrong with that lady. I said, how do you know? Well, she's putting on her gloves very slowly, and she's talking very quickly. That's almost impossible to do, because usually when you put on gloves, you put it on in the rhythm that you taught. And she was doing just the opposite. And that's a wonderful way to show somebody who's a little deranged. I used that same technique. I did Iago for Bobby Lewis's class. And I had this speech where I ranted and screamed and carried on. And then I walked off stage very, very slowly. And you knew that something was very wrong with this man. And I got that from what Elena told me.
Well, I'm winding down, aren't you?
This concludes our
I
conversation.
have had such a wonderful time. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.